Hey now, cats, we're back again this week with Movie Snobs. Who are the movie snobs? Myself, Balls from Ellwood, and my bestie, Matt Wheels O'Nesty. See what I did there?
Oh, look at him. He learned how to rap.
I did, man. I'm pretty, I got street cred, yo. But,
You
anyway,
just lost all of your street cred.
I did. I really
You
just
changed
did that
it.
one sentence. It just all went out my pistol. But, anyway, anybody that's tuning in for the first time or the 500th time, we don't even have 500 episodes, but that's irrelevant. The main premise of this show is I love horribly shitty, terrible, fucking disgusting movies. My buddy Matt here loves higher end, somewhat pretentious, arty, serious, quote unquote, snobby good films. And, I recommend him one of my shitty movies. He recommends me one of his shitty movies, and then we talk about it. And hopefully one of us either likes it or hates it, and that's what we talk about. So y'all caught up? Now let's get it on. This week we have two very different movies pitted off against each other. We have the Robert Altman movie, Nashville, and we have the Jack Ketchum movie, The Girl Next Door. Wheels, would you like to go first, or shall I?
I would love to. We'll start off with the one that's going to make everyone very sad and upset because the movie you gave me this week, like a lot of the movies you've given me in the past weeks, this one, Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, was just an absolutely horrifying movie that showed just probably the most abhorrent behavior a human being could ever do onto each other. And just to kind of explain the premise of this movie, it is a man recounting his childhood, about a summer that he had in his childhood where his next door neighbors, they wind up taking care of these two girls who are their cousins. Their parents died in a car accident and they took them in. And the mother, the aunt to these girls, proceeds a summer-long psycho turned violent turned like sexual assault, just torturing these girls, this Meg and her recently disabled sister. It was so, the character Ruth in this movie is probably one of the most evil characters I've seen in a movie. She was so, her name was Blanche Baker. What an absolutely outrageous performance. I've never, a movie's really good and someone's acting job is phenomenal when you find yourself just like hating the person. You see them, you see their face, you just fucking hate them. When I'm looking at her IMDb to be like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, oh, this fucking bitch, I hate you still. She's like the worst. Like it was such a strange character. And it was like, I have a lot to say about this movie because it was such a beautiful exponential build slowly to this insanity that finally wound up, happening within the climax of the movie with with Meg tied up in the bed. But like at first you think this Ruth lady is just this absolute fucking psychopath, and that's it. She's feeding her boys beer, she's giving the neighbor boys beers, and then it just starts to turn fucking south. And it was just so like, it was such a demented and calculated evil that I'm still having a hard time getting over it. But what I will say is her death at the end, it was such a her character was such this calculated, awful evil that you're genuinely believing, oh, fuck, she's going to get away with all of this. And when this kid just fucking crushes her in the head with the crutch and she dies, I shit you not, I almost stood up out of my chair screaming. I was like, yeah, fuck you, you stupid bitch. Take that crutch to the head. Good. I hope you die of a concussion.
Oh, fuck. Oh, wheels. Well, that's a review that speaks for itself, sir.
But it was like, it was cool though. Like there were so many weird, like little nuanced things about this that like jumped out to me. Like I had a couple of thoughts while watching. I was like trying to put my finger on it. Like at first I'm like, this is a weird coming of age film. Like it's like somebody, watched Stand By Me and was like, you know what, that movie was missing. And, they were also watching Pasolini movies and wanted to see, terrible things happen to a person. But then it was also like, at first it was like a campy, it almost had like this campy sort of like 1950s coming of age element where they were like, oh, gee golly, don't you want to commit some assault, Ralphie? Oh boy, gee shucks. Oh yeah, hit her with the lighter. Like, what the fuck? And then like as this is going on, it hits me like it's like a weird take on a kidnapping movie. Like I got this feeling where it almost felt like these girls were kidnapped, even though they weren't. They were led here entirely by circumstance, but then put into this situation that they really have no ability to get out of. And I couldn't think of any other way to describe it but like a kidnapping. But, with the help of like children protective services or whatever they had in the 50s.
It's funny. You bring up a good point. I never really thought about that. I mean, sometimes everybody just assumes that if they get a child out of a bad situation with human services, child services, that they're just automatically going to go somewhere great and the problem's going to be fixed. That's pretty much a fucking spinning a roulette wheel, man. They could get back into another situation.
I'm hoping it's better now. Like, I hope that they've learned their lessons, because wasn't that based on a true story, if I'm remembering?
I was actually just going to get to that. I'm not sure if you knew that or not, but I actually, before I had seen the film, had read the book. I was a fan of the book, and I'd actually met Jack Ketchum before he passed away, and I was super excited for the film. And when I had found out that was a true story, when I had to actually talk to him, he had said something to me that I'd still tell people to this day, and it still sticks in me. When I was discussing with him how much I really liked this book, he had told me, he goes, when I did research for this book, it was based on a true story. And when I tell you, when you read my book and you see this film, what had actually really happened is 300 times worse than it's conveyed in film or print.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine there were certain things that you probably couldn't do without risking, like,
so to me, for that to be a homogenized version of the actual truth, I can't even fucking fathom that.
When they, and I'm sorry for everybody listening. This sounds awful out of context. Like, watch it, just watch it. But at the end, the blowtorch, when they do the blowtorch, that made me so. I almost turned off the movie. I couldn't, like, it reached this pinnacle of just, and you know what it was that I think was so fucked up to me about it is it wasn't just the violence. It wasn't just the act of violence. It wasn't just the cruelty that was seemingly instilled in these kids' heads. Think like the beginning of the movie with, little Ralphie fucking torturing the ants and shit. These boys, like, they're just
foreshadowing. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like seemingly, this whole family seemingly predisposed to like cruelty. But I think what fucked me the most was the indifference towards the pain, towards the suffering, towards what was happening to these girls. And it wasn't just the indifference from the family, from Ruth. It was
the people in the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, the little neighbor girls, the fucking dude who was the husband in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It was the indifference and the active participation of all this that it showed it showed really well what happens when your reaction to these sort of things, this cruelty and this you're indifferent towards people suffering, it only just gets worse. It doesn't stop. It doesn't just stay where it is. It grows and
Escalates,
grows. Like it was so, it was terrifying. And I don't know how you go through this summer in this childhood and wind up being like a Wall Street broker. Like, I just don't understand how how do you even go to school? Like, I want to see the follow-up of the next year when Davey's like in school the first week and they're like, so what did you do this summer? And then he has to tell the entire story of everything he saw. I want to see that in the classroom.
As you see him as a grown man, though, like, you could tell these events pretty much fucked him up his whole life. Like, I mean, and believe, do you know who that dude was?
No, I don't.
William Abernathy. Do you remember Peck and Ghostbusters?
Oh, shit.
The one that shuts the containment unit down? Yes, it's true. This man has no dick. That's him, dude. People don't realize what a good fucking actor he is, man. He's
Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, that. There was some pain behind those eyes.
Yeah, man. Like, nobody really takes him seriously because of that role, but he's a pretty good actor. And but yeah, that's the thing. I think I've wanted X-Tina to watch it with me for a long time. But I'll be honest with you, dude. I don't even own a copy of the Blu-ray because I don't know if I could sit through it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you know how we talk about, like, when we watch, like, I showed you Come and See, or you showed me I Saw the Devil. Like, there are these movies where you watch them and you really don't ever want to watch them ever again. You just can't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's such a powerhouse and incredible film to me, but I can't ever probably revisit it again because I don't know if I could even face that. You know,
it's a lot.
Content. I mean, it's a hard watch. I mean, it was a hard watch the first time.
It is, and here's the thing: it's going to be one of those ones that I think is going to stick to me like glue. And I think anybody who watches it is going to stick to you like glue.
Dude, I've easily seen that movie. When was that from? Like 15 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Dude, I've thought about it probably every couple weeks for the rest since I've seen it. Since I've read the book. It haunts you. It never goes away. And just to know the fact that it was a real story and it was 100 times worse than what you've seen still fucks with me. And they've tried to do other retellings of this story with other people. In fact, they did one with Elliot Page called An American Crime probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Was that the TV show, like the American Horror Story one?
No, they actually did an actual real movie called American Crime.
Oh, okay.
And it retold the same story, but it didn't hold a candle to that. I mean, it was.
Did they try it? So I didn't see it. But did they try and skimp out on the, like, hey?
Yeah, they kind of took all the brutality out of it and made it very, very PG-13. But I mean,
because I feel like you would lose all of the like. I know it sounds weird saying because it's such a terrible thing, but like the telling of the story is telling of the experience and telling of the reality that happened and the true evil that exists in this world. It's hard to try and like explain evil to someone, but then neuter and soften how you describe evil. There's something.
Yeah, it was a very, homogenized and ballless interpretation, which I don't even know why you would even bother. I mean, why retell that story if there's no point to it? You know, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a weird, like, I don't know. That's actually strange. I'm curious now. I'm going to have to watch it and, like, see, because I'm curious of how you could even tell that story. Was it still, like, a rated R, or was it?
No, I believe it was PG-13.
Yeah, I don't.
Or there was no reason for it to be.
I don't even know how you could. I don't know.
Elliot Page played the Ruth character, and the lady playing her aunt.
That's terrifying. But here's the thing: that I will say this: I don't know if anyone else could go into that role and do, I forgot her name, can do what the lady who played Ruth's character. Because to me, that's just her. Like this person who I've never really seen act in anything before, just melted so effortlessly into this fucking, like, just the literal definition of the word evil.
Yeah.
I was terrified, man. I thank you for giving me another one that, is just, a fun one to show the family. One of the ones to bring out your it's date night. You got the missus coming over, and you're like, this is, I got some.
I honestly didn't give you this one with the intention of fucking with you. Like, I actually gave you this one because I think it's just an incredible film. Like, I knew the kind of impact it was going to have, but it wasn't for me to be like, oh, I'm getting you back for blah blah blah.
Oh yeah, no, I could tell it was a very well-rounded movie. It was very, it was a fast hour and a half. It was a very fast hour and a half. It was a terrifying and disturbing hour and a half that I almost shut off multiple times, and then would pause it, see the counters, like, oh my God, I only have like 20 minutes left. And then I
think if anything, maybe the major point of me giving you this film is, and I mean, you're a fan of film and you hold it as passionate as I do, even though we have incredible differences. And that's one of the things I love so much about doing the show with you. I think I gave it to you because I like films like this for the simple fact that I think it's a very good example of how a film with this kind of tone and content and just, the kind of horrific story it is, but it can also be a beautiful film in the same vein. I mean,
it took something that's so horrific and undeniably just like brutal and violent and just mentally fucking disfiguring. It took all of those things and wove like a really comforting blanket to suffocate you in, like a nice.
I put it better myself. That's a good analogy for sure. But the thing, one of my main pet peeves is, being a fan of the genre of films that I'm a fan of, they kind of get like pigeonholed, and people kind of look down on them, and they kind of get this reputation. And it always bothers me because then you have films like this where I feel is a very beautiful film despite the content, and then it's still kind of lumped in the same category as like your torture porn garbage, fucking your slasher movies and all these, dumb films.
This wasn't gore porn. This wasn't glorifying anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't like when they get, I don't like when movies that I like this get kind of lumped in the same category, because just because I'm a fan of this kind of film doesn't mean that I like all these films. Like there's subgenres, there's things I absolutely hate about horror films.
Well, that's like the thing. They earned it. Like, it was like, I would absolutely agree. I would call this like, I would refer to this as torture porn or like this sort of like gore just for the sake of gore. If like within the first act of the movie, she was already like tied up and like they were already, blow torturing her and doing all the other fucking heinous shit that I don't want to come out of my mouth. If they did all that, like without that, like really fucking like slow burn, like that would for, it's only an hour and a half movie, but that, my friend, is a really good example of this like slow burn where like you're almost watching like a car slowly roll towards the end of a cliff, and like exactly where this is going to go, and like you, along with the main character, who that's like the whole thing fucking his brain to death, is like you're watching this like crash happen slowly, and you're like, there's nothing I can do about this.
Yeah, you probably feel almost as helpless as the actual the main character. I mean,
kind of like, how we talked about when I showed you Exterminating Angel, with
Yes.
Boonwell, like how Boonwell kind of like made the viewer a part of the circumstance, where you felt just as trapped as the party goers.
Yes.
And like watching this, I'm getting a similar vibe of like, I mean, again, like, I don't want to say I feel as helpless as Davey, because he really didn't have the worst of it. Meg and Susan took the brunt of all of this. Like, they got the worst of it, Meg getting the worst of it. But like, you feel yourself almost relating to Davey in the situation of like this really helpless bystander. And then the moment he finally tries to snap, he has a fucking, they put a switchblade to his neck, and then they got him tied up. It was crazy, dude. I mean, that's a crazy goddamn movie.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just a movie, it would probably still disturb me, but not on the level of the fact that.
Honestly, I think if it was just a movie, I'd be like, okay, that's a sick motherfucker who has way too much time on their hand to think about awful shit.
Yeah.
This being like a real story adds so much more impact to like everything about this I mean, the shit's undeniable to me. Like I'm gonna think about this forever.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing this to you, and I hate doing this to you, because then, like I said, dude, it's haunted me since I've seen it. And like, you meet people and you want to kind of recommend stuff to them, but then you got to kind of put the brakes on and go, do you really want this to haunt them the rest of their life like me? Like,
it can't be the first movie you give them. You have to work that.
Yeah, you got to wade them into this, like maybe Poultry Guys first, and then maybe maybe the Golden Girls puppet movie, and then after that, perhaps you hit them with the Hein with the.
I like the idea of looking at trauma movies as a gateway drug to this.
Well, I mean, you got to have kind of campy and silly and happy, and then you hit.
Clearly, it's where we're leading. So here's the thing: I'm curious, because that's really my take on The Girl Next Door. I mean,
that was a great. I'm actually. I'll be honest with you. I was really. Usually, I could kind of gauge it. I feel, but I was really not sure this time, because I thought this is either going to be one that's really going to probably piss you off and you're really not going to like it, or you might. So I mean,
it was but that's the thing about a movie like this, and like I think I was talking to my one buddy about like 5 Easy Pieces, like similar sort of thing, where like the point of the movie is to hate the fucking character. Like when you're watching this movie, if you're like, oh yeah, I love everyone here and look how good, like, then you have a fucking turd. You have a piece of shit, like, movie. Like, there's no substance to it. Like, why are you even doing it? Like, I think if you get upset with the violence and the gore and the subject matter and the genuine inhumanity and injustice and cruelty that is put on this fucking poor girl who lost her parents in a car accident, her sister became disabled for life, has to take care of her, and then not only is the cruelty happening to Meg, to her, she has to watch her sister get abused and also unable to do anything about it. Like, I think if you're watching these things and you're just upset by those actions, you're misunderstanding sort of the relationship of the characters to reality, to how reality works. Reality is terrifying. There's evil fucking people. I just got a story sent to me about something very similar just happening in Youngstown to a girl who not involved with disability stuff, but has disabilities, and something similar happening to her from someone who was taking care of her, and you hear those things and you think what fucking monsters, how can these monsters survive in this world? What do they do? Are they really our neighbors next door? And I think this movie tackles that, where it's like, yes, these are the people living next door who you don't know jack shit about, and you just think are just a little off. And I'm not saying all of your neighbors are doing this crazy shit, but I'm saying it can be anyone. I don't want to make anyone distrustful.
One more thing before we head on to the next movie. You brought up a really good point, and one of the main takeaways I got from this film is exactly what you're saying. Like, whenever I still think about, I'm very distrusting of everybody already to begin with.
Yeah.
But this always sticks with me. Like, I thought about if this is going on in like one house in America, I can't even fathom all the bad shit that's going on in all the different places. It just brought up so many questions to me after I'd seen this. And it made me think about so much stuff that it almost was like sensory overload of bad shit, you know? Like
last thing we can leave on before we move on to an Altman classic, which is way more lighthearted. If there's one lesson anybody who's watching these kind of movies that you can take away from shit like this, it's this idea that like you can do your part. Think about what the movie was about, the lesson that he gave at the end. Help, 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 help. In the beginning of the movie, it shows him helping the guy who collapses on the street. In the end, he said, when you what was it? You see someone in need, do something. Like you have to, if you see something, if you see these things happening, go and get help. Put yourself in, donate to shelters that can take care of individuals, donate, like take an active role in any way that you can. I think that's the best lesson a person could take from a movie like this. Is if you want to beat out evil, you have to put good into the world.
I agree, man, and I definitely think it's people kind of feel like it's a hopeless endeavor, but I don't feel that way, man. Like
it's only hopeless if you give into apathy. If you give into this, like, oh well, there's nothing I can do. It's always going to exist. If you give into that, like, because I refer to that shit's contempt. That's just contempt for your fellow person and not wanting to do something just out of it's too hard, or you might think it's futile. It's defeatist, and it get the fuck out of the way if that's your mindset.
Well, we've finally come to the part of the show where I'm going to completely break Wheel's heart.
No, get into it. What did you think of Robert Altman's Nashville, Balls?
I fucking hated this movie, dude.
God damn!
I didn't just dislike this film. I need to have a few minutes to rant here.
Go.
Lost to me, okay? But before you even start, I'm going to get to that. But I don't usually have a problem watching stuff in its entirety. In fact, I have OCD, and it fucks with me if I have to break things up. It took me 3 fucking days to get through because I fucking hate it so much. Really, like, and then I'm thinking maybe I'm crazy because I'm looking at all this shit on the TV, on the internet, and I'm like, oh, this is the best American movie since Bonnie and Clyde. And I'm like, going in, I have to self-admit that I'm probably a little biased for this film. I am a humongous hater of anything country.
Oh, Balls, no.
I am a humongous...
It's not that I like country, but like...
I have some PTSD, which leads me to that. Another story. But not only that, I get what he was trying to do. The premise of this film is 24 people intersected in their story and how it relates to Nashville. I get that.
Yeah.
To me, it was like they should have called it 24 people I give less than a fuck about in their story. And like I didn't care. Here's the most ridiculous part of it, okay? Let me I don't know if you let me see if you think this is ridiculous. There's many good-looking women in this film, okay? Bear with me. The dude is pining, and he's the one that got away is fucking Lily Tomlin.
But she's awesome, dude. She's like the best human being ever.
Oh, I like Lily Tomlin fine, okay? But come on, man. If you had Karen Black or any other broads, you're going to fuck Lily Tomlin.
Oh, what? What, the guy who's supposed to be like what was he supposed to be like, Peter, Paul, and Mary or whatever?
Yeah, what, man. And I'm just like...
She was a distinguished lady. You don't like distinguished ladies?
No, not at all.
She had deaf... Well, you like distinguished lady with deaf kids?
The deaf kids were probably the more important, more interesting than she was. Like, not only that... Dude, here's what it felt like to me. I don't even know what the fuck this movie was about. Like it was like he was like I could picture him when I'm watching this. I'm picturing him in my mind directing this film, going, "Let's get this group of characters, and let's just have them randomly talk about shit that relates to Nashville, and let's get this group and this group until we have 24 people, and they can all randomly fucking blabber about Nashville.
You're not too far off.
And I'm just like, and then it's like, I mean, if you're wanting me to relate to these characters or showing me how each character is, got it. Okay, there's the asshole that's a fucking country star. There's the fucking lady that she's never gonna make it, and she makes it. And I'm like, then there's the fucking, then I didn't give a fuck who shot the bitch by the end of the movie. I was just glad she got shot. I was like, I would have shot her if I had a fucking chance. Like, not only that, I want to dig up Adam Arkin, violate his corpse. I want to piss on his fucking face.
Wait, who are you digging up?
Shut up. Let me finish. Then I want to find reanimating serum to bring him back from the dead, just so I could fucking kill him again, wasting 2 hours and 40 minutes of my fucking life that I'm never going to back again. This is an American classic that I'm going to go to fucking Canada, because like... explain to me what the fuck this movie was about. Like, how do you get any joy from this fucking garbage? Like,
so
tell me what the fuck it was about, because I have no idea.
This is really interesting to me, and I should have expected this because it was a similar reaction to when I gave you Hulo's Holiday.
Dude, I would have rather watched Mr. Hulo shoot ping pong balls off his asshole for 90 minutes. This abomination of fucking film.
with a really
Hulo shoot ping pong balls off his asshole vacation. I'd been like, I'm all about it. Let's watch that. Or Mr. Hulo fucking beats off of the cheese grater. I would have watched that for 90 minutes. That was a goddamn fucking classic compared to fucking monstrosity of film.
Oh my god.
I want to start the I Hate Adam Arkin fucking fan club. Surely I can't be the only one. I'm glad the guy's dead, because if he wasn't, I would have put a curse on him. Or I would have sent him a pipe bomb.
He'd show up, the kind of guy who show up to his house and just deck him. Be like, what the fuck?
I'd ring his doorbell and I'd kick him right in the fucking nuts. Like, there you go, your Nashville bullshit motherfucker.
So I like it. I like this movie because to me it's one of those, and it's why I like Toddy. It's one of those very fleeting sort of observational, you're sort of just in the environment. I am very fascinated by how Altman handles like dialogue with this sort of like, you watch this movie, I've seen it a couple times. You watch it
a couple times.
You watch it, and I pick up on.
Please tell me you were on drugs or high or something.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, I don't know what I can legally say while we're recording.
Please tell me that you were maybe.
But, if someone were to get a medical card, I would be able to help them out.
Let's talk about that after the show. Actually,
I'll give you the hookup. No, to the state of Ohio, I promise. I'm not dealing drugs.
No, you're not. You're not a dealer.
But no, it's one.
The only thing you're dealing is shitty movies.
I shouldn't know. I think because I was like, okay, I'm going to give you this because it's going to give me another excuse to talk about Toddy. Because I'm always fascinated with directors who were like, why have one main character when I can just have this like fluid sack of characters just like going through each scene. Like, I don't know what draws me to that environment. But I don't know. It was just, I was very taken with these interpersonal relationships, this idea that the good people are really bad and the bad people are really good. And you had like the girl that you hated that wound up getting it at the end. She to me is one of the most fascinating stories because it's like somebody with so much genuine talent couldn't even get a fair shake until there was like legitimate tragedy unfolding in front of her. Like, to me, that is such a fascinating thread. I liked that like everybody had their own story. Like even the fucking like the van had its own story to make it to the fucking campaign at the end.
Were these really stories though? I mean, they seem very.
Well, they were, yeah. I mean, So the way I view stories, it's not even just like isolated. Instead of it, so here's I guess a way to put it. It was spending more time character developing and bringing characters through sort of this. They really don't even change by the end. They're all very much the same. But it's sort of relying entirely on character and character development instead.
I don't ever have a problem with that, but it didn't seem to me like there was much evolution with anybody. It just seemed like they were kind of arguing about the same shit, man. The only one I really felt bad for was the chick that couldn't sing, and then she's upset that she has to strip, and then
oh, dude, that was like that was so upsetting.
That's the only part that actually elicited any sort of response to me whatsoever.
It was one of those where it's like, oh,
I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait till I didn't have to stare at these fucking assholes anymore. Like that was the only person that actually I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad. And then they shot her at the end, and I was like, most people was probably in shock. I was like, yay, she's fucking dead.
Yeah, the lone gunman, hooray! You're the guy who's cheering on the dude who shoots John Lennon. Yeah, fuck him for going in and out of his building.
Well, he was my least favorite Beatle, but that's another unpopular response, which I'm never afraid to give, by the way.
Oh my god. Okay, so that all makes sense now for your feelings towards Nashville. So I have a question. Did this turn you off from Altman?
Is it like this? Because if so, yes. Probably.
So no. So this is he kind of. Let me think. No, because Long Goodbye isn't like this. California Split isn't like this.
Speaking of Long Goodbyes, we have about a minute before we break off.
Oh shit! Do you have anything else you want to say? Do you have anything else you need to get off your chest about your hatred towards Nashville?
I could probably do another 6 shows about how much I hated this fucking, but we'll just keep it at that.
No pops for Elliot Gould showing up out of nowhere, you know.
Nah, man, if I was him, I'd keep that off his resume. But being said, why be the devils? I'm Balls. This is Wheels. This was Movie Snobz. Peace and love, brother.
Love you. Always fun doing this, Balls.
Even though I didn't like it, man, it was still a blast. I wouldn't have changed a thing. So
dude, that's the point of doing it. You got to watch everything, even if you don't like it.
I always give my word. I will always watch anything you recommend. So, and you always get my opinion. Well, that's a blessing and a curse, I see. But I appreciate it. Love you, brother. I will see you next week.
Love you, big guy. Be safe.
You too, buddy. Peace and love.
Later.